Something's coming, and we need to prepare now. Hi, I'm Saratoga Ocean. So let's take stock of where we are right now on this planet. I have a feeling that some new form of chaos might be brewing with the controllers of this Earth. So let's start by looking at what their ultimate goal is, and then we can look at where they are in their process of getting there. See, after what we've been through over the past year and a half, I think it is vitally important that we stay one step ahead of them. That way we're not caught by surprise and we can much more effectively deal with whatever it is they're trying to do. So let's review who these controllers are. The human controllers of this planet are a small group of people who are actually functioning as minions of certain nefarious extraterrestrial and interdimensional forces. Now, I know a lot of people like to refer to them as the elites, but in truth, they're actually really kind of low-level minions. And it's funny because so often we think about how is it that this tiny little group of people, relatively speaking, has the ability to control like 7 billion other people on the planet. Well, the only reason they can do that, and the only reason they find themselves capable of orchestrating what has now become a global level of insanity, is because they function in league with other nefarious extraterrestrial forces. I mean, these human beings could never pull this off by themselves. There is no way, because they're not smart enough to do this on such a planetary scale. In fact, the humans involved, I suspect, are also being lied to and manipulated themselves. But I also want to mention one other thing. A lot of these controllers that we think are human are actually extraterrestrial. For example, in one of my past videos, I think I mentioned a story about a previous time way back when I was in physical, semi-close proximity to someone who at the time was running for vice president of the United States. And it was some kind of a campaign thing. And I was just, my husband and I were just going to check this person out. And I am convinced, and I'm not going to say any names, but I'm convinced that this guy was probably a reptilian because his vibration was not human. And it was the most horrific energy I have ever encountered in a physical human being. But I don't think he was human. I think this guy was reptilian. And I want to share another little interesting story with you about how weird things really are when we think that, everybody's just a human just like us. Now, as I've said many times before, I am a walk-in, and the person who was here before me grew up in the Washington, D.C. area. And when you're in the Washington, D.C. area and you've spent a long time there, well, you've probably heard about this. A lot of times they invite groups to the White House for various things. A lot of it's probably political. A lot of stuff I don't even understand about why they do this. But she was in a theater group that was a national thing. This was when she was a very young adult. And the whole group got invited to the White House. I'm not going to say when because I don't want to say names about these people I'm talking about. But they were invited to the White House to have a luncheon with the First Lady. Part of before they went into this big banquet setting with this massive luncheon, there was a receiving line. I mean, they had a little orchestra playing, and they had to go through this receiving line. So there were, I don't know who these people were, but the First Lady, whose name I'm not going to mention, was standing in the middle of this receiving line. So everybody there had to go through and shake the hand of all these people. Here's the thing, guys, this was so bizarre. Now, yes, this was Karen's experience, the person who was here before me, but that memory is so branded in this physical body, brain, whatever. I truly think this First Lady was some kind of an android. I truly believe it. It was like the weirdest thing. It's like, because I have the memory. So you're going through this receiving line, and and these are humans, right? They're humans. And then you get to her and she's like a robot. There's nobody there. There's no human energy. There's nothing. And I've thought about this and I've thought, well, how in the world did she pull off, if she was an android, How did she pull off all the stuff she had to do? And here's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering if sometimes they have an actual, I know this sounds crazy, but I don't know how else to explain this, because this lady was not human, okay? Maybe they have androids who are stand-ins for, the more low-level stuff, because, guys, she disappeared after that receiving line. She was kind of around on the side, but she wasn't really engaged with the people there at this luncheon. And I don't even know what happened to her, because I don't have a memory of really seeing her again after that. So I wonder if they actually have like android stand-ins for some of these politicians, for some of these dignitaries or whatever, for, lower level events, so they don't actually have to go to all of them. I mean, I will never forget. That experience is so deep inside of me that I cannot forget the experience of human, android, human. I'm serious, guys. There's some very weird stuff going on with these high-level politicians. So I kind of wonder sometimes if these people who are in these high-level offices in government and things, if they're not, I don't think they're all human, because, when you get close to them or you get in some kind of physical proximity, you can tell. It's really, really obvious. Because there was this other guy who was running for president, and this was when I was living in Santa Fe, and they had this campaign thing in this hotel, and I just happened to be in the hotel for some other reason, and I went into the room just to check this guy out. So it was a very small group. There were probably only 45 people standing around this person, and I was like really close to him because he was going around shaking people's hands, and I thought, that guy's totally human. I mean, it was obvious. This was a complete 100% human being. You could look into his eyes, you could feel his energy. He was human. So whenever you have an opportunity to be in physical proximity with these people, there is a stark contrast between who is human and who is not. So now, with this being the case, I think it might be safe to say that there's already a massive extraterrestrial presence on this planet already. That's why the disclosure thing is really kind of ridiculous, right? I'm bringing all of these things up because I really think we are in a process where we need to slowly, or maybe quickly, shift our perspective. We have got to get our minds straight about what is really going on here, so we're not out in some false reality that's been presented to us all of our lives, that has kept us enslaved, kept us under control, and is really going to lead to our demise if we do not extract ourselves from that false, highly controlled reality. If we continue to believe that extraterrestrials are out there somewhere, it's really going to mess up our perspective and our ability to grasp what is actually happening right here on this planet. I think I've shared with you all in the past about my experience of visiting Roswell years ago. And, in Roswell, they know there are extraterrestrials. It's not like that's a secret. And the thing that really struck me being in that town was that you could feel that there's a ceiling of a big, huge lie everywhere on this planet, that there's nobody out there. It's just us, and there are no ETs. But in Roswell, it's like, yeah, there's extraterrestrials. We kind of know that. But you can feel the difference. You can feel the difference in the atmosphere. You can feel like that ceiling isn't there, but it is there everywhere else. And when we left Roswell, because we were only there for a few days, it was so pronounced. It's almost like this vibrational, energetic ceiling around the whole planet that cuts us off from any experience or understanding of the extraterrestrial universe. I mean, it's like visceral. You can feel it. When you have a break from it, you can actually feel it. It's kind of like a ceiling of lies. So basically, we have the fundamental lie that everyone on Earth is a human being. We're all Earth-based creatures. There's no such thing as extraterrestrials. There's just us. The whole universe is a void, and planet Earth is the only place where there's intelligent life. So we have that deep mind control programming that is pretty much in the collective, that is now being broken down pretty quickly, actually. And then we have the very real fact that there's a tremendous amount of extraterrestrial involvement with this planet, and there has been for a very long time. So all of these things form the backdrop of the controllers, I guess I could call it their nefarious network of control. Let's take this to another level. So we have the human controllers, we have the extraterrestrial controllers, we have the interdimensional controllers, all functioning in some kind of unison, or almost like a weird kind of symbiotic relationship with each other in terms of what they're all getting out of us and out of this planet. But all of those guys are actually functioning as an extension of a much larger AI phenomenon. So if we want to understand the controller's final goal, when you put all of that stuff together and say, what's the final goal here? What's the final outcome that all of this junk is going on in order to achieve, knowing that that AI phenomenon is really at the forefront of all of it? The final goal is to turn this planet from a biological paradise of life into a synthetic AI matrix. And that is essentially the path that we've been on for a very long time. Now let's take a few moments to look at the more recent trajectory of their path that they're taking that they think is going to work to get us there. All the while remembering that they are not the only players in the room, if we can put it that way. We just want to be awake to what they're doing so that we can be empowered and we can respond with power and influence, as opposed to just hiding in fear and allowing them to control us, right? See, always remember that the chief weapon they use is basically psychological warfare. The chief weapon they use is fear. And you actually have a choice about whether or not they can hit you with that weapon. Because if you say no, which I'm going to talk about in this video, I'm going to show you how you can not be affected by their weapon of fear. So let's stand here from a fearless place right now and clearly examine their path that they think is going to work to turn this planet into an AI matrix. So essentially what they've done is they've used AI and they've used the internet to get everyone connected on the planet. And then their next move was to destroy our variety, our wonderful, colorful, beautiful variety of cultures, of human cultures. And the next thing they want to do is to end the existence of individual countries. See, they want everyone on Earth on the same page, not for some beneficial reason. They want us all on the same page so that they can have uniform control of everyone on the planet. So in the past year and a half, they have started programming us to get used to a planet where the same rules apply to everyone worldwide. And of course, a deadly health issue was the perfect way to do that, right? So this actually marked a massive transition away from diversity into uniformity. And by the way, do you notice how they're always trying to brainwash us about this whole diversity issue? Guys, they don't care about diversity. What they want is absolute compliance and uniformity to the max. They want uniform compliance from everyone. I mean, it's really kind of Orwellian, isn't it? It's kind of like Newspeak. This is some serious psychological warfare that's being used against us, and we really need, guys, we need to be awake to it so that we don't fall prey to it. See, diversity happens when people are free to think and act in their own unique and creative ways. When they can fully express who they are and create their own unique cultures accordingly. But here's the controller's version of so-called diversity. Everyone must think, act, and speak in exactly the same way. And if you don't, there will be consequences. See, everything they say is a lie. So the controller's method of creating absolute uniformity among all the people on this planet, which is what gives them absolute control, is to break up and destroy whatever makes us different and diverse. Now, I think they might have played out this whole health issue thing. And see, they've done a huge amount of damage with that. But here's the thing. I don't think they want us to ever have a chance to recover from that, which is why I think they keep holding on to it and not finding ways for it to truly resolve. So because they don't ever want us to recover from the trauma and the damage that was done, I have a funny suspicion that they might be planning some more chaos ahead, because that's just what they do, right? So we are at a point now where we have an opportunity to make a significant choice. I think we have an opportunity to make some new decisions about how we see ourselves and how we see our situation. And I really encourage you to look at this as an opportunity, as something very positive. Now, I've been talking a lot lately about how we really need to deprogram ourselves and get rid of a lot of brainwashing that has been put upon us for so very long. The advantage of doing this is how we empower ourselves. See, because all of that programming and brainwashing is actually serving to suppress our light, suppress our power, our clarity, and our higher intelligence. And we really need those faculties right now, because that is what's going to give us the upper hand in this whole situation. So I want to talk about purging a certain version of reality or belief system once and for all, so that we can really come into our full power as the cosmic creators that we really are. Part of the problem with the old reality that we were all so brainwashed to believe in and invest in is that there's this insidious thread that ran through it all and continues to run through it if we're not aware. And that thread is a belief. It's almost like an unconscious belief. It's almost on the level of an unconscious assumption that, well, whatever's going on, someone somewhere is going to fix it. And I truly think that this belief is one of the main reasons that the controllers have and continue to have the upper hand. Because as long as we maintain this belief, we're actually giving them the upper hand. So how did we get this belief? This belief is a product of living an entire lifetime of being told what to do, what to think, and what to believe by outside authorities. Those authorities being things like religious authorities, social authorities, and political authorities. See, we have never been told that we are responsible for our own reality. We have been told something very, very different. Now, pay close attention to this. We've been told that our job is to comply with an existing reality that was set up by someone else. And that actually forms the foundation for actually the reason why we tend to have this unconscious assumption that someone else is also going to fix that reality when it's broken or when it's not working. Because we were always told, hey, this reality is already preordained. Your job is to fit in with it. So we never get that feeling of being centered and empowered and strong and capable and creative. Because see, compliance is none of those things. It's kind of like we figure, well, someone else created this reality. It wasn't us. And in a way, that's true. So then we also assume that it's that someone else's job to make it right or fix it when it's broken. And that actually kind of makes sense when you look at it that way. It's not that it's a good way to look at it, but it makes sense that we would have that assumption, right? So then we tend to unconsciously assign the job of fixing this mess to things like invisible ETs or religious avatars, or at the lowest level, politicians. We just kind of assign them the job to fix it, right? So why don't we start by realizing that it's not about fixing anything. It's actually about evolving out of it. I want to give you a personal example of how insidious this kind of belief and programming is. So my family and I were going to dinner the other night. We were driving along the road, and all of a sudden we noticed there was one of those telephone pole things, those things that hold the power lines, and this thing was on fire, right? My immediate reaction, it was like I wasn't even thinking. It was like an instant reaction was, oh, somebody will take care of that. It was so fast. It was so instant. Oh, somebody will take care of that. And right away, I came to my senses like, wait a minute, what makes me think somebody's going to take care of it? But see, what I was seeing I was seeing that brainwashing, that programming, that it's someone else's responsibility because, see, that's part of that reality structure that someone else is supposed to take care of. And it was just so bizarre that that was the first thought that entered my mind. Anyway, in case you're wondering, we and a whole bunch of other people called 911 and it all got taken care of, so it was fine. But I was actually happy that I actually could see that because I saw that it was like a filter. It was a literal filter that was in front of my consciousness that was like on autopilot. So we need to start paying attention to whenever we're thinking like that, whenever we have this automatic filter just show up, someone else is going to fix it, someone else is handling it, someone else is going to take care of it. And we need to banish that from our consciousness because it does not serve us. So that's the first thing that we can do. Now, as a result of the past year and a half, so many people are waking up. I mean, it's really amazing. And if we were kind of just left alone and all of this chaos just kind of went away, I think we could start evolving again. We could really start getting engaged with this ascension process again, and everything would be just wonderful. But you know the controllers don't want that to happen, right? They don't want us to get our feet on the ground. They want to keep us distracted with more chaos. So that's why I'm bringing this up now, so that we can get ahead of that and maintain that path of ascension, that path of empowerment, that path of evolution and positive influence in this situation. I'm going to share with you a couple of things that you need to know that is going to really support you and maybe even amaze you about what we can actually do in light of what those guys might be planning. Now, I don't know if their ET disclosure thing is just kind of fizzling out. I mean, it's kind of funny, right? Like if that was meant to be a move about fear, it's not working too well because I think a lot of people are excited about it. So we just have to wait and see because as I'm filming this video, so far nothing's really happened. So let's just say that we kind of know their MO and we kind of know that they like things like violence, they like things like fear, they like things that just make us feel out of control and terrified. You know, we can just step back and say, okay, we get it. That's what you guys like to put us through, okay? So let's talk about what we can do so that we can be in a proactive mode of power. Now, in my last video, I talked about the fact that as light workers, way showers, starseeds, awakening human beings, we are most likely already positioned to function in a co-creative role with high-level extraterrestrials. And why wouldn't that be the case? There's so much ET involvement with this planet already, right? So here's what I want to invite you to do to start. After you work on that brainwashing programming, get rid of all that dumb programming that the controllers put in all of our heads, start thinking of yourself, if you want to, this is an invitation, think of yourself as an extraterrestrial asset in this situation. Because if we are here to function as a co-creative force with high-level extraterrestrial beings, that makes us an extraterrestrial asset. That puts us much more on the same playing field as these controllers who appear to be bigger than we are and so intimidating. See, that's got to go, guys. We cannot live like that anymore. Now, there are two main things that each one of us can do to support what it is that we want to see for a change, as opposed to always complying with what the controllers want to see. Let's say, for example, that they want to start some kind of chaos or violence. We don't want that in our individual cities, right? So what each of us can do is expand our consciousness, our light, and our intention. Expand that out into whatever city you're in. You have that power. You can expand a protective light into the city that you live in. Now imagine if a whole lot of people did this. This is going to have a tremendous impact. This could have an even bigger impact than, like, for example, a lot of times we like to do group meditations, right? And that definitely has a powerful effect, no question about it. But when you consciously recognize yourself as a co-creative asset, an extraterrestrial asset, because that puts you on a planetary scale of consciousness. and you understand yourself as an asset, then you will not be afraid to use the power of your light and radiate that light and that presence and that energy into the city that you live in. See, the controllers have succeeded with all of their brainwashing and mind control and fear. They have succeeded in shutting down our ability to do this. But here's what I want you to understand. They don't have any power to shut down our ability. What they do is they shut down our belief that we have this ability. See, that's what they do. They don't have the power to shut it down directly, but they can brainwash us. They can program us so that we don't believe we have that power, and then we don't use it. They can't take that power away from us, you guys. They can't. They have no way to do that. I mean, it's who we are. So I want to suggest that it's time for us to activate that power, shed those false beliefs, shed that program, and get rid of all that mind control and be who we really are. So we can each think of this as a literal power activation, an activation of our power as cosmic creators. I mean, doesn't that sound exciting? Now, another interesting trend is starting to happen. This is really cool, where people are waking up to the fact that we can just say no. No, we do not agree to this. I know some people say we don't consent, but see, I don't even like the word consent. It seems a little too open to me. I just like flat out no. Okay, just no. That's it. N-O, no. Now, I want to share something with you that's very fascinating about how you execute the use of the word and the intention no. There are two ways that intention and that word and that statement can be executed. One way is great, the other way is terrible. Let me share with you the difference. And this has to do with our flow of energy. I've talked about this before, but let me just review for a moment. Fear creates what we as Telstar call a reverse flow of energy. It causes our energy to flow backwards, to flow in reverse of how it's intended to flow. You could equate fear with darkness, with an absence of consciousness, an absence of presence. When there's fear, we withdraw, we shrink, our energy shrinks because everything's going in reverse. If we say no from a place of fear and our energy's going this way, what we're saying no to, now this is kind of hard to explain. Let me see if I can explain this clearly. What we're saying no to, we're actually focusing on what we don't want with our energy flowing this way, which actually kind of reverses our intention and kind of brings it towards us. Does that make sense? Let me share with you the other side of this, and maybe then it'll make even more sense. Let's shift that to love. Let's shift that to light and power and recognition and acceptance of who we really are. That is light. That's a radiating flow. This all comes from love. And I also want to point something out about love. Love is not this wishy-washy little, we have to be nice and we have to be loving and all of that. No, I'm talking about love as a power. Love as a power of light. Now, what kind of love am I talking about? I'm talking about love of who we are, love of the truth, love of the integrity of our human species, the integrity of the universe, the integrity of how things are actually meant to be, which is with no suffering, no duality, no pain, none of that stuff. So it's love coming from a place of deep, pure integrity of spirit, integrity of being. That's the love that I'm talking about. So that love is light. That love is presence. That is power. That energy is a radiating flow. The same way that light radiates, fear goes backwards. It's repressive. We shrink. Love, we radiate. We're present. We're here. We're empowered. Now think about this. When you say no from a place of love, that is incredible power. So when we say no to all of this junk, we want to say it from that place, because that is where we have the power to influence the outcome that we want. See, because we're projecting our intention from love. This is in accordance with the laws and principles of this universe and how this universe is designed. So when we say no, I don't know if you can get the feeling. It's so hard to put it into words. I hope you all can really get the feeling of what I'm talking about. That is a power that we need to exercise. That's the place for which we want to say no. We never want to say no from fear. We don't go, no, 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 we don't want this to happen. Please don't let this happen. You know that doesn't work. You can just kind of feel the weakness in that. It's almost like signaling to a predator that you are prey, right? And we don't want to send that signal to these controllers. We want to send a signal of power. This is all metaphysical work. And I've said this before, we need to function not just on a physical level, we need to function on metaphysical levels. We need to function on multi-dimensions of levels, or multi-dimensional levels, I guess you could say. So this is what I'm suggesting that we all do. We want to stay awake. We want to stay aware. We want to say, okay, what are these guys planning next? What does it look like they're doing? What's their aim? They're going to create chaos, fear, violence. That's all they know. These guys are not real creative. You know, they're really not. They don't really have a whole lot of variety in their bag of tricks. They really don't. So, yeah, we just want to stay awake and aware, and we want to practice. If we're going to say no, we want to say it from a place of power and strength and love and presence and certainty and clarity. Why is this so powerful? This is powerful because when you say it from this place, this entire universe stands behind you. Because you are speaking in alignment with the entire universe. If you say no from a place of fear, you're not speaking in alignment with anything other than the controllers themselves. Okay, so I hope this makes sense, because let's just take a step back from everything I've said so far and recognize that not only are we doing something wonderful in doing this, but we're also evolving. We are actually, the process of doing this, we are evolving back into who we really are on a very practical level. So actually, it's really very simple. It's, like I said before, you want to get rid of the brainwash, you want to get rid of the programming, stop thinking, oh, it's somebody else is going to fix it, because that's how we were trained to think. We were conditioned to think that way. That's just another belief system that has to go. And then we want to radiate, project that light into whatever city we're in as a protective force of energy. And now that as collectively we're starting to all learn that wonderful, valuable word called no, make sure you're making that statement of intention. You're making that statement of power and presence from that radiating place of love and light, and not from a place of fear. So I hope you guys found that interesting. I hope you're going to try some of these things out. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it out with anyone else who you think would find this information valuable. And be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because I am here every Sunday, Tuesday, and Friday with all new videos. And with that, I'm sending you so much love, light, and high vibrational energy. And I so look forward to seeing you in the next video. Namaste.